Hi everybody! Fuck. Should have adjusted that beforehand. Hi! I'm Burch. I'm a big geek. And this is my geek review of Oblivion. And holy shit, I actually really like this film. I went and saw it in IMAX last night. The first thing that I have to comment on is that if you are going to see this film, IMAX is a really great way of seeing it because the visuals are really something else. Director Joseph Kosinski, however you pronounce his name, previously known for directing the film Tron Legacy, he's got a almost masterful command of the special effects in this film. There's only one shot that I can think of. Yeah, there was only one shot in the film that looked kind of special effects-y, if you will, and that is about it. The rest of it blends really seamlessly in. Everything looks like it's there. It's like this is one of the crowning achievements of modern special effects. It's almost right up there with Prometheus as far as a science fiction film with great special effects. But like Prometheus, it's also a science fiction film with great special effects, but the story could have used a lot more work. And by a lot more work, it's not bad, nor is it exceedingly dumb, like Prometheus just has dumb characters, dumb movie moments. The story in Oblivion is very straightforward, and it utilizes a lot of, I don't want to say cliches, but there's some contrivances in the story that make it so that later on, when you think about it, you go, so why was that? How did that work? And this probably, if everything didn't fall into a particular, didn't happen the way it happened, it wouldn't have happened. And it doesn't feel organic, the storyline progressing the way it does. A lot of things you can kind of see coming from a mile away. But to its credit, there are a couple of twists in the film that made me go, ooh, this is interesting. So, the film is largely propelled on the strength of the acting. Tom Cruise and Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman really only has a bit part, but he gets second billing, and I don't understand that. Probably because he's just Morgan fucking Freeman, and anything that Morgan Freeman is in, he should be getting second billing, because he's God. But, Olga Kurylenko and, I don't remember the name of the actress who play, it's a couple of names that I'm not like entirely familiar with, and that really helped because I was able to put them into their characters and not just see them as like Tom Cruise and whatever. But I mean, like, I get it. People get turned off by Tom Cruise. He, Mr. Scientology, Mr. I'm jumping on Oprah's couch. It's all that Tom Cruisiness outside of his films. But Tom Cruise is one of those actors where I can divorce the man from the character, and when Tom Cruise is acting and he's in it, he is solid gold. And Tom Cruise in a science fiction always works for me. So this is no exception. His character is a guy by the name of Jack Harper, which is that feels like it's almost as Joe Summers or something like that. It's very it feels very cardboard-ish. It feels very like throwback to the like John Wilkins or James Smith, or like that kind of character who has a bland name and on paper is probably pretty bland too. But Tom Cruise injects a lot of complexity and nuances into his character, especially the more like things happen in the film, the more like the veil is lifted from over his eyes and he gets to see what's going on in the world around him for what it really is versus what he knows it to be. And if it was just Cruise alone carrying this film, then this film would still be watchable and as entertaining as it is. This is kind of, it's not on the same level of, like, say, Tom Hanks in Castaway or Will Smith in I Am Legend, where it's literally just them, in the film. But a lot of it rests on Tom Cruise. I think there's like 5, maybe 6 named characters in the entirety of the film. There are a couple points where we see a bunch of extras, but there's like 5 or 6 named characters in the entirety of the film, and of those, I think 3 of them have the lion's share of the script, and then the other 3 have a handful of dialogue at best. So a lot is riding on Tom Cruise's performance and his ability to make you care about the character and for you to feel for what the character is going through, and for him to project that out from the screen and into the audience. And it works really well. If you don't like Tom Cruise, you're just not going to like this movie. I'm sorry. That's the way it is. And, like, it's not as intense a performance as, like, Minority Report, but he brings his game to the table, and it's a solid performance from my perspective. As a fan of Tom Cruise, not everything he does is gold, but like I appreciate him as an actor, and I think that when he's really tuned in, he is an excellent character actor, and here he comes through. I really enjoyed his performance here. The storyline mostly revolves around what happens after Earth has been attacked by this alien race called the Scavs, and then how we are building or we're rebuilding and surviving as a species after that alien invasion. Earth is kind of a wasteland, unfortunately. The moon has been blown up, and man, every time you see the moon in the distance, it's in like bits and pieces, and it's kind of hovering in the atmosphere in chunks, and it looks cool and frightening at the exact same time. And there's a lot of things in this film that look interesting, cool, frightening, alien, and familiar all at the same time. The entirety of the movie belongs to the visuals. The story is standard issue fare. It moves from point A to point B, and maybe intentionally or unintentionally, it kind of foreshadows a lot of things are going to happen. You can see where things are coming, and then it takes a quick dive, and then you go, what? And then it proceeds, and then it takes another quick dive, and you go, what? And, it saves the best one, and the most emotional twist for the end, which which I really, truly enjoyed. The ending, not so much, but the ending, at least felt like it brought a closure to this story itself. Now, again, it relies on contrivances, and it relies on telling a story that, this comes into play here, and that in here, and then you go like, well, how was that even able to? But it's a kind of film where things just happen, and you kind of have to accept that it happens. Not the plot twists notwithstanding, there are things that happen and you go, oh, they did that. Or if you don't mind that, if you can withstand a bit of a cardboard, paper thin story, which it's really more of like a plot outline than a full-fledged story, then you sit back, relax, watch the film, enjoy the direction, because fuck me, Kosinski is a visualist. There's excellent special effects. The 1 or 2 action sequences are really well done, and I could see everything that was happening, and I didn't get lost. The way that he frames the camera and he controls the action and directs everything is a treat for the eyes, and that held me in. I wasn't blown away by anything, but I was definitely thrilled in places, and I really would like to see this film again. I'm gonna buy it on Blu-ray when it comes out, because it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And aside from Tom Cruise's performance, you get Morgan Freeman, who, solid performance. He comes in, he does his thing. And he adds a little bit of warmth and familiarity to the script, and he clearly had fun, doing what he did. There is, I don't remember the actress's name, I'm sorry, but the character of Vika, who is Jack's, Jack is a drone repairman. And these drones patrol this sector of the Earth where these giant machines are sucking up salt water and converting it into fusion to take that fusion energy back to the Titan moon of Saturn, which is where all the human colonists now live. So Jack goes out and he repairs the drones that protect the seawater suckers, lack of a better term. Hydrogen converters, that's technobabble for you. And Vika is essentially tower control. She utilizes the satellites that hover over, which is maintained by one particular satellite called the Tet. It is a giant space stational thing shaped in a tetrahedron that goes in orbit around the Earth, and that's where mission control is. Their human contacts are up there, and in 2 weeks they will have Jack and Vika will have finished up their patrols, and they'll be going back up to the Tet in order to go back to Titan. But the woman who plays Vika has some really emotional moments where if performed wrong would have felt probably more comedic than heartbreaking. And wow, I need to go back and find this actress's name because she was spot on, absolutely spot on. Her performance is right up there with Tom Cruise's, and between the two of them, there's a chemistry, there's a jealousy, there's a friendship, but kind of a sort of a buffer between them at the same time, and it all works. They work together. They are an effective team, to borrow a line from the film. And yes, that woman's performance is just magnificent and absolutely heartbreaking once a few plot twists come around later in the film and you start to realize a few things. The woman who plays the astronaut survivor that Jack finds, she's a little bland, but she delivers a potent enough performance that you feel for her and you don't feel like she's a stock character, which I mean, she's certainly interesting enough. She's there to drive the plot forward in a contrived sort of way, but the way that she interacts with Tom Cruise worked for the most part for me, so I had no complaints. Her as a character or her as an actress. It was competent. We'll put it that way. It was competent enough. It wasn't necessarily bad acting, but not necessarily on par with the other actors in the film. And then there's this other guy, he's the right-hand man of Morgan Freeman, played by Nikolai Coster-Waldau, who plays Jaime Lannister. Tyrion Lannister? Fucking the dude who gets his hand chopped off in Game of Thrones. And he is just kind of like a standard one-note character. So I didn't really give a fuck about him other than I recognized his face. Anybody could have played that part. Whatever. Did not fucking care. He was just there to be a guy who's kind of like the staunch badass in the film. So, if you're expecting a Golden Globe out of that, sorry. But Tom Cruise brings his A-game. The woman who plays Vika brings her A-game to match. And everybody else is mostly in supporting roles, and they do so with competency. And so all the actors together work really well. I'm specifically avoiding spoilers in this review, simply because this is one of those where like so much has already been told to you from the previews of the film that you'll go in kind of knowing half of what's going to happen. So I really feel like it's very important that the plot twists are not spoiled. So I refuse. I won't talk about any of them. But what I will say is that the plot twists that do happen really did come out of left field in a good way, and it really started making you think in one of those unraveling sort of, And the next thing you know, like, the entire viewpoint you have of the film is picked up, flipped upside down, and then realigned, and you're fighting for equilibrium, just like the main character is in the film. And there's one of those near the end, which I thought was just like perfect. This film is about the experience and like the emotional experience. There's very visceral and very emotional experiences that go on in this film. So that is why I forgive the threadbare story. Although this film could have been elevated so much more if the script had gone through like maybe another revision, had been tightened up, had been given a bit more depth, and if they'd pulled out some of the stock sequences that you've seen in other films, and you go, they did the thing where the person happens and then that. And if they had gone through another stage with the script, this could have been not just a very good science fiction film, but a great science fiction film. As it is, it's very good, and it's very entertaining. And that's why I really enjoyed it as much as I did, and that's why I'm going to buy it on Blu-ray when it comes out, because it's very entertaining. And you might not necessarily like feel in depth too much for the characters themselves, but it's the experience of what they do and what happens to them, and as a result to humanity in the film. That is where the experience, and that's where I felt as an audience member drawn in and pulled in, and really felt the atmosphere and felt for what the film was trying to go for. So overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Oblivion a 7 out of 10. I think that had there been a few less cliche moments, it would have been an 8. And it had the potential to be a 9, like an absolutely 9 out of 10 science fiction film. But a lot of it, what happens is that you take away from it and you feel it. One thing I want to bring up real quick while I'm thinking about it is a lot of people are kind of knocking the score. They're kind of calling it sort of an Inception, Dark Knight Rises sort of ripoff. What, you think Hans Zimmer's the only one who can do that type of score? I thought M83's music was suitable to the film. Not as quite game-changing as Daft Punk's Tron Legacy soundtrack, but what M83 brought to the table serviced the film, worked wonderfully within the film, and I need that song that's on the end credits, because that's like, damn, that's a good song. So yes, the soundtrack is it is a little bit cinematically Hans Zimmer-ish, but I don't feel like it's like a rip-off of an Inception / Dark Knight Rises soundtrack. Anyway, so yeah, final score, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It's a film that could have been better, and it is held back only by the script itself and how contrived the script is. And so that noted, the acting is what keeps the film going, along with the visuals, and there are some really cool fucking visuals, especially in the destruction of Earth and things that you get to see. It's like the Pentagon, the Empire State Building, like different landmarks that you can see, and like how like Earth has kind of swallowed everything up. It's really cool, and the special effects are beautiful. And like, if you go for the entertainment factor of the film, of the acting and the directing and the visuals, the story might not be so much there. But if you take these into account, it's a solid, very good science fiction film, and I absolutely enjoyed it. So 7 out of 10. Star Trek 6 is a review I've been meaning to get to, but I've been working a lot, and I went on vacation, and so I would have done that for today, but I went and saw Oblivion last night, and I knew I needed to get the Oblivion review out while it was still relevant. So I'm hoping to do Star Trek 6 this weekend, and that way it's like all the Star Trek films have been geek reviewed. And then coming up next weekend, 1 week from this coming Friday, Iron Man 3 is coming out. And if you follow me on Tumblr at all, and links below, you can leave me requests. You can leave me requests in the comments, or go to my Tumblr and leave me a request. Someone requested Iron Man 3. I'm going to do Iron Man 3. Absolutely will my geek review that. But then Star Trek is coming. Star Trek Into Darkness is coming, and it's, wow, I don't know what to think based on the new preview that I saw. I kind of wish I hadn't seen it, but now I'm even more intrigued. Now I'm even more intrigued, and I have no idea what it's going to be like, and so we'll see. But anyways, there's a lot of films. This is a great summer for science fiction. So we've gone through Oblivion. Iron Man 3 is coming out. Star Trek Into Darkness is coming out. Man of Steel is going to have a heavy science fiction lean to it. I'm really looking forward to After Earth with Will Smith and Jaden Smith. I saw a preview for it in the theater. It looks really fantastic. Although notably, they didn't mention who directed the film. M. Night Shyamalan. Oh yeah, I think they're purposefully not bringing up his name in the previews, if only to get people to come and see the film and give it a chance. I'm down for it. I still like Shyamalan as a director. I think that he's made some bad choices, and he really just needs to focus himself and maybe get someone else's scripts and like focus. And this film so far looks like he's got that focus, so I really have my fingers crossed for After Earth. But this will take a really good summer for science fiction. So that said, I'm gonna go. Thank you. I look under 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes on this video. That's what I'm aiming to do from now on. Less than 30 minutes, less than hopefully 20. This went a couple minutes over because I was talking about stuff. But yeah, check out links to in the description for Tumblr, Twitter, Amazon.com, where you can find my books. Speaking of sci-fi this summer, I have a new novel coming out this summer, and I'll devote an entire video to that. But hey, there's a thing. So anyways, I'm CK Burch. This has been my Geek Review. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.